All right, going to be calling the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock. Today is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. Adam, can you start us off with roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Ramirez, he is absent. Vice Chair Martinez,
Present.
Commissioner Bozo,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
and Commissioner Barnes.
Here. Thank you. If we all can please stand for to do our pledge of allegiance, please. George, could you lead us, please?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Secretary's report.
Yes, the meeting packet was published on June 13th, 2025. I also want to let the commission know that Commissioner Terry Graham has resigned from the commission.
And typically, do we fill that position in our
No,
this year? Is that going to be something that?
so it will wait until the next round, which would be in around the new year. If the commission was in danger of not having a quorum, then we would try to do an active.
Thank you. Okay, approval of agenda. Can I get a motion? We
Oh,
are,
actually, you want to do the minutes first?
I'm sorry, approval of our minutes from our last meeting.
Motion to approve the minute.
We got a motion by Commissioner Miller and a second by Commissioner Vargas.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay, so motion passes 5-0. Approval of agenda?
Yes, and then we'll move on to our approval of our agenda. Can I get a motion?
Do you want, we need a motion first.
Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Jimenez and a second by Commissioner Bozo.
All those in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Do we have any introductions?
No.
Okay, it looks like we have a presentation from Santa Clara County Health Department. Gilroy moves grant activities.
Okay, we have here, we have. Daisy over here.
Oh, okay.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Daisy Ramos Garcia. And I'm Victoria Garcia. And we are here today to give you a high-level overview of the Gilroy Moves Initiative, which was funded by an active transportation program grant, Detroit and Spring Alberta.
So yes, so the grant was a 3-year active transportation program. We did use the Safe Routes Full model and we applied it to community hubs. We ended up selecting 3 areas of interest. One was at Isidro Park, Valley Health Center Gilroy, and the downtown Civic Center. And at these hubs, we focused our bicycle and pedestrian education and encouragement activities. Which this is only a very short list, but we did bicycle and pedestrian counts, and then at schools, Elliott and South Valley Middle School, we asked students how they got to school. We also focused on train the trainer activities. We attended community workshops and events, and then we created specific community hub materials for these 3 hubs.
As Victoria mentioned, we did a lot of different activities. Here are some examples. We will be going more into depth into a few specific examples. Some activities included a story time and pedestrian safety training at the library. We did community events as well as trainings with community members and ASCO.
And one of the activities that we did wanted to highlight was our Gilroy Walking Group. So we did have a monthly walk for residents around the San Isidro Park area. We did add a nursing component to the walk. So the nurse comes, provides a 15-minute presentation to the people that show up that particular day on a health topic. So it could be on diabetes, it could be on taking care of your feet. And then on the walk, the participants have casual conversations with the nurse. And more importantly, it serves as a connector for medical services. In previous grants, we did hear from the residents that a lot of the medical services were on the other side of the freeway, which made it really hard for them to connect. So we were able to bring the nurse to the other side of the freeway and have conversations and build out ways that the residents, when they do go to their doctor's appointments, can ask questions. These are two pictures Adam joined us in one of our lots, and then the other one is from August 2024. We get sometimes we get family and sometimes we get various families, and they range from babies and strollers to seniors who join us on the walk.
One of the activities that I was really excited to be a part of was the youth-led project. The project was focused on an active transportation issue in Gilroy. To do so, we contracted with GADAS, which is a community-based organization here in Gilroy. They have really strong relationships with youth, which is why we chose to work with them. And my role in this was really providing technical assistance, so I did trainings with youth. The youth and the program, with guidance from the program coordinator, were really the ones to implement these activities in Gilroy last year. The youth were tasked to address a traffic safety issue in Gilroy, and they selected to do so by developing different bicycle pedestrian education materials, as well as weaving in some activities with a cultural aspect, as you'll see, to promote it in the community. The youth partnered with Mr. Fuchila to support the Nuestras Ofrendas and the Love for Non Festival. As you can see in the picture at the top right, they actually safely led the walking procession around the Gilroy Art Center. I gave them a training on how to safely lead a walking group. At this Nuestras Ofrendas event, they also had an altar that they dedicated to traffic safety victims. They distributed bicycle safety tips as well as pedestrian safety tips. And they helped support the coordination of the bikers, as you can see in the bottom right corner. And I do want to mention, actually, one of the youth, Adrian, was named Bike Person of the Year by Councilmember Hilton, so you can see how some of that work is continuing. We also had our Gilroy Move Safely media campaign. This was a campaign that was bilingual, English and Spanish. We really wanted this to be community-based and community-rooted. So we invited participants to participate in a photo shoot. And we also wanted to make sure that we took pictures of landmarks here in Gilroy. As you can see, top left is Old City Hall. We wanted to make sure that the messaging was also resonated with the community. So we developed surveys to share with community members and stakeholders. We did in-person outreach to ensure that all the messaging was relevant. And our messaging really focused on how to share the road safely. It was geared towards everyone, drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists. As you can see, we had these ads displayed on buses, we had bus shelters, we had online media posts. We also have some in-person flyers because, you know, not everyone has access to technology. We also developed a PSA that aired on the Spanish radio channel, again, just to ensure that the message was getting out there.
And we also did data collection and evaluation throughout the time span of the grant. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we did bicycle and pedestrian counts. So we did that at certain corners of Gilroy and counted how many people were walking, biking, on the road. things like that. We also worked with the two schools and they asked students how they got to school and how they went home. And then we also had a community survey at the beginning of the grant, and then at the last month we finished. We just got the results this morning actually. So you can come back if you want to see what some of the residents of Gilroy said regarding biking and walking. And then we did walk and bike audits at the community hubs, San Isidro, downtown, and then the clinic. And throughout 3 years, we did do a lot of resident meetings, just making sure that whatever we're putting out was resonating with the community. For example, the social media campaign that Lucy was talking about, the driving actually came from the residents because they voiced that they were very concerned about the driving behaviors of the drivers. And then right there on the picture, one example of how we're getting our outreach down at San Isidro Park during the holiday persona.
And we just wanted to wrap this up to talk about some future collaboration opportunities. So while our grant is ending this month, we're mostly leaving the work, but we'll still be around. We wanted to share some of the activities that we did. Victoria and I both, while we've been here, have worked with different stakeholders, different community members. And we wanted to show you all and give you the opportunity to leverage some of the work that we've done and some of the partnerships that we've made throughout this grant. As I mentioned, we won't completely be gone. We, like many cities, like all the cities in Santa Clara County, receive Measure B funding to do some bicycle pedestrian education and encouragement activities. Our funding is really focused on technical assistance, not so much direct services like we were doing under the grant. We are still available as resources. We may be able to provide some technical assistance if, for example, the commission is interested in doing some education, like in education activities. We may be able to provide some support. And if you're interested in learning more or just want to chat a bit more, feel free to reach out to myself or Lisa Campbell, who is our supervisor. That was it. Does anyone have a question? Comment?
I have a question. I would like to see the survey results that you guys have. Did you just email them? Or would you want to present them?
We can come back and present, all the data that we have is, we're welcome to share it with everyone, so.
Okay.
We can just, either works for us, whichever you all think is best.
Maybe if you can send the data to Adam and then maybe Adam can just share it with us, the commission.
Community survey.
Yeah, all the data you
All the data,
collected,
okay.
generally, what do cities do with this information?
As Victoria mentioned, we just got the results today, and I think we'll be working on potentially final edits, but we can definitely, once all of that is completed, share all that data back to you all.
And do you know what the data is generally used for? Like, can we get other grants or what do you do with it?
So part of what we do is we want to make sure that it's public, so we come to spaces like this to make sure that everyone knows that this data is available, because this data can be helpful if, for example, the city wanted to apply for some kind of funding and it requires some kind of data. So that's what, we're hoping is to share that information with you all, and that hopefully that can be of use.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Piggybacking on what you said, are there any grant monies available?
Related to bicycle pedestrians, or what kind of grant?
I had the same question.
Just to give you an example, we're working on a project that's connected with the Elks Club here in Gilroy, and it's gonna be an opportunity to put in our second what is it?
Pickleball. Oh, story walk.
The story walk. So is there anything like a story walk that you might have funds for, that could maybe even help us go on to a third story wall?
The county does not have funds to necessarily do something like big infrastructure, big environment changes such as that. We also look for funding. I know that there are lots of different types of funding sources as they relate to bicycle and pedestrian, whether it's infrastructure, and by that I mean like adding a bike lane or things like that, or activities like the ones that we did. But I'm not familiar with anything off the top of my
Okay.
head.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually had the same question about funding, because you guys said that potentially we could be in touch and you guys could help us out with how, in what capacity?
Yeah, so we may be able to support with technical assistance, and by that I mean, maybe having more conversations about projects that you wanna do and seeing if we can support you with connections or anything like that. If you have other specific projects in mind, we're happy to chat more. We are not able to support with actual implementation of the activity, but we can support you all, for example, as commissioners, if you wanted to just kind of have a brainstorming session, if we can help you find a connection or other possibilities as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's great. Any other last questions? No? Okay, well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So. All right. Do we know if we have any public comment on any items not on the agenda? Or anything?
Yes, I was supposed to be coming to this meeting, so I've been doing a mural at, Los Alamos Park, the Amwell course, I heard you guys have.
Oh, actually, that's on the agenda.
So,
No public comment.
Okay, new business. Mural requests at the Las Animas Handball Courts.
Yes, commissioners, to give a little bit of history, so the city received a request, from, a group of residents, and, Castaneda is the artist that's been, given the design, and so, the request is to place a mural, 3-panel mural on the exterior walls of the handball courts, sorry, my voice is going. The items for June 10th, Arts and Culture Commission, where they consider the actual design itself. They've read a recommendation to the city council to approve the design of the artworks. Since the project is inside a park, it falls to this commission to determine whether or not the commission wants to render a recommendation or approval or not approve the project at its location inside the park. As mentioned, the artist is present, Mr. Castaneda. But inside the packet contains the proposal document and the design as well. Again, the design's already been reviewed by the Arts and Culture Commission. This is simply a request of the commission if it's appropriate for the handball court to be to have a mural installed. That completes the presentation. Again, the arts here, if you have questions, but again, it's more about whether the mural is going to go on the handball court, not necessarily the design that's been reviewed. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part? This is only to see if the mural is gonna go on the handball wall, not the design?
Correct. So this is considered the location being inside the park. If that's, or if the commission wants to provide a recommendation to council to approve it or not. Ultimately, council decides. The design itself has already been reviewed and a recommendation issued by the Arts and Culture Commission, which is a commission that reviews the designs of public, which is where this center.
I have a question. Is anybody here from that commission to kind of represent why each design was kind of picked or how they came for a final design of the mural? Was there a lot of public input kind of to answer some of those questions?
So this is a donation that's coming with an existing design already prepared. So there's no, it's not like, the city didn't solicit
Okay.
for the artwork. So in that case, this is handled differently. If we did, then yes, there's a full competitive process. But that's not what this is. So this is a donation, that's being submitted, a design already having been established as part of the donation. And so the Arts and Culture Commission reviewed it, had discussions with the artist, and approved the design as this. Or
Interesting.
recommended approval as this.
So. There's your item 3, possible action, the commission, is that us? Okay, so we could say, we'd like to recommend that this would go forward in support of that. So I move that we do that.
I love the idea of a mural at the Los Animas handball wall. I grew up there playing handball. I still play handball there now. So I think that wall is long overdue. It's a beautiful blank canvas. So something like this is super exciting to me. And it's something that I've been wanting to see for years. I think initially kind of just first thoughts is something that's, I don't know if concerning is the right word, but I think if this is gonna go up in community, I strongly believe that community should also have input on this design. And community might like this design. I'm flipping through it. I love it. You know what I mean? But I think it would be awesome if they were given the opportunity to at least maybe vote on a couple different designs, maybe get some input from the community itself that is present at Las Animas. I don't know if that was done possibly already. Nothing that I've heard of currently, but that's just kind of like my first initial thoughts is how can we also incorporate our community at Las Animas, the neighboring neighborhoods, to also contribute to this beautiful, amazing project that really doesn't come around often, right? Giving them ownership of that, right? So they can have more pride at the park and take care of their park. I think that would go a long way. So that's just kind of like my first initial kind of thoughts, just kind of at a first glance, but overall, this is super exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's overdue and the other handball courts have beautiful murals and I think it's gonna look really good. But it says they are gonna solicit community input. I don't know to what degree. It's constituted, but-
To public speak.
Actually, the artist, so he doesn't have to go for one.
Yeah, okay, if you guys don't mind, I can speak to. So with this mural, is from my understanding, when it was brought to me, that it's under like a time restraint due to like the end of the year and like the weather where it's permitted. So we only have like August 1st to start, so or like the first week of August. However, we're trying to fit in an actual community input session. This, in my opinion, when it was brought to me, it's because I was already planning this mural. I was gonna bring it to Arts and Culture Commission, but not until next year. But since they were afforded the opportunity to make it happen this year, they were trying to push it for this year. So, in my opinion, I would have rather have done a community input session before we even came to this meeting. But I know that we're trying to figure out how we can get that leading up to right after once the approvals are done, we wanna have this community input session. And it'll take place at outside.
Okay, but what does that community input session typically look like?
So usually what we do is we present the image, cause I do murals for a living, you know, so usually when we do community input sessions, it's usually. You put out a flyer to the public, you know, this is where it's gonna be located, you bring the design, and then you leave enough room for everybody to speak. And give their input, whether they want to change something, or maybe they don't like something, if you add something. That's usually how it goes, and sometimes it takes more than one session, but. I'm not too sure. I'm not certain how that's gonna look following the approvals, if we do get the approvals. So if we do get the approvals, then we can start doing all this sessions, basically, from what I heard.
How long are the courts, I don't know if you know this, but how long are the courts gonna be closed to do the mural?
I mean, they can still utilize the courts, but they'll be doing the exterior.
Oh, so even with all of your stuff there?
Yeah, they'll be able to place them,
Okay, nice.
it's gonna be on the outside.
And generally, just curious, how long does it take to paint something like this?
So if we start. As, when I think we would start, it'll probably take a little over a month.
Wow, okay.
So these are the images right here that we have printed out. Is that what I'm saying? I think the artwork is really good. I think it takes a lot of talent and, just a lot of talent to draw up, photos and people and the way it's designed here. I noticed that is, I know we're a state of agricultural, and that's the message that I'm getting through the design is more, agricultural, work. Is that so I'm just trying to understand how that plays a part with handball courts.
So I did extensive research on it, so the handball courts were built in the seventies due to the Chicano people people, which are responsible for Chicano Park in San Diego. So even the handball courts at San Ysidro Park, they were also, they were because of the Chicano people union. So I wanted to pay homage to that through this mural, so the three images are actually representing past, present, and future. So if you look at the first image of the facing on the field, you see on the field, it's all handball. That's supposed to represent the past. And if you take a look at the windows on that side, that wall that is facing is actually facing the hills that are facing that side, so it's facing, looking to the south. So those are the, what would be the eastern hills. The middle would be representing like the present, you know, learning from the elders, you know, replanting, regrowth, you know, the butterflies signify, you know, like resilience, you know, overcoming a lot of hardships, getting through a lot of things, you know, a lot of that. You know, to do that. The last image is representing, you know, basically all the families, like the ending, like everybody living together and, you know, revitalize. You know, like Javier mentioned, you know, I played handball courts there a long time. You know, I grew up in that park, the whole neighborhood, I grew up in that neighborhood, and, you know, that park does need a lot of love, you know? I feel like putting an image like this where anybody, doesn't matter what background you come from, can look at that. You know, we all have stories of our elders, you know, working hard for us. You know, from working together with your elders, you know, getting their wisdom as they give it to you, you know, and I think something like that can for sure make a difference there at that park. So that's why I went with the image channel.
Yeah, I know it's like the image, San Ysidro Park, I think that's like one of the historical, what would I say, like historical, like yeah. it's
Iconic.
cool. It's cool. It brings back the Aztecas and things of that nature. This is more, you know, you said seventies or fifties?
So those were two, both those handball courts were built around the same time. So, but they were built in the seventies, yeah.
And so the murals that are right here presented to us, it dates back, reflecting maybe the 1940s, 50s is what I'm imagining. I wasn't born back then, so.
Yeah.
But I know the ones in San Ysidro, the Aztecs and like that. So, have you presented these murals to the folks that play handball, and what kind of input did you get from them?
Yeah, they were willing they like it, you know, especially because it's visual, you know? Like I would love to put more, you know, Aztec stuff that, more, you know, cultural things of that nature on them. However, you know, we already have one at San Ysidro Park, you know, and we have them all around us, which I just kind of want it to be more neutral, where anybody that goes there can see their family in there, you know, because it wasn't just one ethnicity in the fields at that time. You know, we had Filipinos, we had, you know, Portuguese, we had Italian, you know, we had a lot of people on those fields, you know? And some of my elders still live in that same area, like off of Arnold, right behind Los Angeles. You know, my grandpa's like 98, and he still talks about, he's lived there since the 40s, you know, that same block. So before Las Animas used to just be a field with craters, you know, just like a creek, there'd be frogs, from what he said, you know, you can hear frogs all night until they finally turned into a park. So being able to have that access to that kind of information to lived experience, you know, it's helped me a lot on this project. So I think putting this where it's kind of more neutral, you know, kind of at least with my art, what I've been doing now is kind of keeping more neutral stuff is, you know, every kid should be able to look at something and be inspired by it. It shouldn't just be one way, you know, I think everybody should be able to receive the same message from art.
The mural, the people working in the field, seemed like I've seen that one before. Have you painted it somewhere else before?
I have 12 murals here in Gilroy, so you might have,
Okay.
yeah, I have one, my most recent was Overflow. I put some field work in there too. Overflow, the brewery or the bar.
Yeah, I thought I seen this before. I like the hills. I see that look real familiar and, yeah.
Quick question. Sorry, Jesse.
Yeah.
So it's one design per wall on the three?
Yeah, so these are set, you know, along strip is. Those are 10 feet by 15, except the center one with the hands is 10 by 30. So that'll stretch across the middle.
Okay, I don't know if you've been out there recently, but the sidewalls get used. So I don't know if that will kind of damage the mural itself, and if it's being used, I mean, that's also something to
Or
consider.
like when people overflow and they play handball
Yeah.
on that wall.
Yeah, because they use it as a one wall, right? There's different types of handballs, there's a 3 wall and there's a 1 wall.
I usually put about those at graffiti, so I've never had issues with my murals getting damaged anymore.
Mhm.
If they get vandalized, they usually come off with just fresh more.
I was curious, sorry, if you have a question.
You can go ahead.
I was curious about how long they usually last, like when will they need to be refreshed?
I usually give at least 15 years, it should last more than that, I mean, especially with the anti-graffiti. So when you paint, if you don't put any clear coat over it, it'll probably last like 8 years for you touch up. But anti-graffiti is actually very strong, like almost like an epoxy based clear coat.
Mm.
So when you put that part of the shell over it, it's protecting all the paint behind it.
Nice, that's great.
So if we don't give you.
No, go ahead. You're ready.
Go ahead.
Perfect one.
Yeah.
You go.
Is that because I'm older?
No, it's because you already took the lead. I'll wait patiently.
Okay, so if we don't give you our support tonight, does that put you in jeopardy?
Doesn't put me in jeopardy, it just means go back to start next year.
Oh, okay. Because my motion died because of the lack of a second.
I'll second.
Uh,
I'll second your
Okay, thank you, all right.
George,
So,
would you have this?
I'm just, go ahead.
Well, there's a motion technically.
Can we not keep going?
I mean.
Can we go to
for next
discussion
and-
officially again, right?
Go to
Official discussion.
Yeah, we do have to open it up for public comment. I don't see any. Is the commission ready to make a motion?
I'm not, but I do wanna kind of add my 2 cents, if I may. I think your vision is great. I've been supportive of it. I like the neutrality, it being neutral type of mural like you explained. I like the fact that you did your own homework, research, and are not here just presenting, something that it's your vision. But you've kind of incorporated everybody, that has a history in Gilroy and in California technically. So that's great. But definitely would want to get that input from the community, be your #1 driving force. I think that I would support it, and I think most of us will for sure. As long as that is contingent on community input. So that way it's their ownership of the mural. You're the creator, you created a blueprint and then kind of enhanced it with their input. If y'all think, we could come into agreement in that.
Yeah.
In that nature, because we love the idea.
Yeah.
It's, if we don't do it now, the window's gonna close. The money that is set aside for this, I'm not sure where it's coming from, but obviously it's donated, I assume. And we need to take advantage of that and also be clear in the community of why we're doing it and getting their input.
Yeah, I just like to share also, like, I just feel like, I agree with Vargas here that, the idea, the creativity in it is phenomenal, the timeline, just the different types of background, of ethnicities coming together, sharing this historical, I just, community input, I would agree. I think it's a great idea. I think it's overdue having a mural there at Los Angeles Park, and I think you're a great, person to make that happen, since you have so much experience here locally, you're a local individual yourself, as myself and Javier growing up playing handball. I played handball a lot of years too. I just feel that, I'm all for the agricultural. I just feel like I've seen this photo before and, if we did something different, maybe bring it even further back, more historically, Aztecas, even though there's absolutely only one other than the calendar here in Gilroy. But if we were to bring that starting the timeline there and then bringing it all the way forward, I think that would be phenomenal. I just feel like I've seen this photo before. Feel like I've seen this one before as well with the hands and the plant. Um, I just, yeah, it just seems like, you know, we're duplicating artwork. I think it's phenomenal artwork. But, yeah, that's just my input, you know, everyone's and, you know, everyone has a point of view of how they think it should be, right? So, that's why public community input would be great, but that was just my 2 cents in this for what it's worth.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
so are you, what I'm hearing you say that you would like to have the community input before we move on?
Yeah, I love the idea, and I think nobody's opposed to the idea of a
Yeah.
mural, from what I'm gathering, and correct me if I'm wrong. It just seems that we wanna hear from the community.
So how about if I amend my motion to say that we approve?
Well, let me,
Why don't you?
let me go ahead and
Oh, I'm
step in
sorry.
here.
Yes.
So the item from the commission, remember, this commission does not approve the work,
The artwork.
right, the artwork, or even that you are issuing and a recommendation to the council. Council's on,
Okay,
right? And so we're prepping for an item that's gonna go to council. Ideally July 28th, which gives enough time for that. If a friendly amendment, because there's already motion and second on the floor, if friendly amendment is approved by Commissioner Wetzel and is then confirmed by the seconder, Commissioner Miller, the phrasing of it is the recommendation of council. So we're fine with it as long as the community meeting was held, because it's gonna be past tense. Because your recommendation is to the council at the time it's considering final approval. So that's one thing. We can have a discussion and take the direction. And I can meet with Mr. Castaneda, the artist, and then you go back to the funders to see if there's wiggle room and their funding. Again, I'm not knowing the full details of the funding mechanism, there might be multiple pools or different sources. And so there's the speed which they need to move is the reason why we're kind of running into kind of a Brian Oaks on this. So that would be my recommendation, if, as it's being framed, to frame it that way, that this is a recommendation to council that they would hear at the time when making the decision. So, those key things and Director Dowdy is correct. The design is not what's up for this commission to decide. It's already gone to the Arts Culture Commission. They did provide similar kind of comments. But again, it's up to the artist, because again, this is a donated artwork. And that's why the final design, whatever it is what's gonna be approved by council. So any community meeting has to be done before then. Otherwise, what's being approved by council is not the final design, and that's not for approval. So there's multiple arms in this going at the same time.
Just to clarify role, commission's role is to say, are we okay with a mural being placed on the handball courts? Certainly you can participate in the community outreach, you participate in the council meeting as a commission. You can make your motion. You can also include provisions that direct the chair to convey your comments on the design. You're certainly welcome to do that. But the role specific tonight is, are you okay with the murals being placed on the handball courts? But the record will show your comments, and if you wish, again, you could ask the chair to participate in the community meeting on your behalf to convey the commission's concerns and challenges to that a little bit, and to come to the council meeting and convey those same comments or different comments should a different situation arise. I don't know how this relates. If any significant change to the design, would that have to then route back to the Arts
and Culture
Commission?
Depending on the severity of it, so well, again, I don't want to step on the Arts and Culture Commission's toes on their process. But ultimately, that will have to be, we'll have to discuss that, so depending on the approval here, because again, each of these is triggering a review step in the process, right? Ultimately, the council is the one that decides on it. If the design is changed significantly enough that needs to go back to Arts and Culture Commission, then the special meeting have to be held, and they can weigh again on the design changes. But ultimately, the key thing is the handball court the appropriate place for a mural to be placed? You brought some good comments about, being used on the outside. That's the whole point of this commission's input, is knowing, okay, how is the park going to be used? Does it fit with the the general layout is gonna cause impacts to the play, that type. And so that's where this commission weighs in, and you have some great comments and great questions about, survivability of the work, considering the exterior walls are being used. Again, Director Ali is correct, the comments you make, you can add additional comments to it, but the key thing on the recommendation is whether the handball court is appropriate place for the mural. And then we will carry forward any comments about getting community input there, and council will hear those comments, hear what was done by the artists, and they can decide, hey, if we're not ready, you do need to go back to community, community meeting has been held by that point in time. But they may actually have a community in the between time as well, so that's one of the key things also about not conditioning the approval. You're taking the proposal that's before you now on location. If it's conditioned about the placement within the park or its use on the murals, that is appropriate. The design itself is not, because that's arts and culture commission entire role and function under this challenge.
So can we add a friendly amendment to his motion, or how do we do that with the caveat of we want community input before? How do we do that?
Yeah, so it almost effectively has been done, or requested. It's up to the motioner and the seconder to agree to how that language is in the final motion. If you're willing to put it in, and then it's up to you how you're gonna phrase that.
Okay, so I would like to add a friendly amendment that before work starts, there's public input. Is everyone okay with that? Or would you
Yeah,
like to
right.
add something else?
No, I think that's fair.
So the
I'm just trying to wrap
motion,
my head around all this.
yeah, so the motion that Sam moved on is we support the mural and recommend to the city council for approval contingent on possible community input before final implementation. Would that kind of be according to,
I think
What
board
we're-
location, support the murals location.
Correct.
So if we voted.
at Las
for-
Animas?
So,
Yeah.
if I can.
On the handball.
If I can-
Handball, all of the handball.
Yeah, so basically, what's the friendly amendment again? It's your final acceptance of the language, whatever you want to phrase it as, and then the second, take it. You're essentially saying that the commission is recommending to the council approval of the mural and requesting that before the final implementation, a community meeting is held regarding design.
I like that,
Okay,
yeah.
and so then the secondary, you would have to agree with as well.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we vote and we say thumbs up and that we agree that a mural be placed at Los Alamos Park at the handball courts. But it's contingent on the artwork or the public, the community input on it.
It would be contingent. You're requesting as part of that you're saying, you're recommending to the council that a public input process takes place
Okay,
before it's actually put on the wall.
okay.
Well, can it be that our
Condition-
recommendation is contingent?
The recommendation can't be contingent.
No.
Because you're recommending placement and if the handball court is appropriate for a mural. Because remember, the Arts and Culture Commission is the ones to weigh in to the council about the design. So the recommendation is an addition to outside of the scope of this commission on this particular type of request.
I just want,
It's really muddy because you're crossing multiple commissions.
Right.
And that's always where it gets kind of weird about
We're not in the design.
the church. We're not in the design.
Of position. We are in the, do we want it there, yes or no? And do we want to take advantage of the fact that we have it all set up? Unfortunately, we're not part of the design process.
So you still provide the comments, you want public input, but that's like an additional recommendation on top of it, but to condition your base recommendation is what would be outside. So you wanna make the firm recommendation, yes, handball court, assuming this is what is voted on, handball court is appropriate to have a mural placed on. We would also like to recommend, essentially what was being asked, that a public input process in the design stuff. And that's it.
before it's put on the wall. Right.
There.
I don't wanna offer Ellis, but I am curious do we know where the funding is coming from for this? Does anyone, do we have to? Okay, that would be nice.
If we commission or the arts, never mind, we're gonna stop there.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, we're gonna,
It's private.
yeah,
money,
private
not
funding.
city money.
If we ever commission something, it would have to go through the arts, commission technically, and they would approve. We would just say yes or no. We
If,
recommend yes or no for that location,
if it's public art,
public art.
that's the key thing. So if it's like, you know, the layout or the color scheme, like when the pickleball courts come, that's not public art. You don't have to go back to our sports commission for that. If you want to have like a recognized public art piece somewhere in a park.
Okay,
Pickleball sculpture.
That's where, yeah.
got it.
A statue to the greatest pickleball player in an area. That would probably have.
Emily.
Just a giant.
I
Emily, the
just,
best
yeah.
pickleball player.
That would be the best.
I just wanna get the artwork right, you know, I think we have the perfect artist to do it, I think, I just wanna get the artwork right before we put a 15-year mural on there. I played on those handball courts for 40 years, you know, and, you know, so I'm all for it, but if a yes vote is going to push the artwork, slap it on the wall without more input, then I'm not for it, but if it's gonna be pending on approval of artwork, then I'm going to vote yes, you know, to it. So if that makes sense, if you follow me.
The
I
friendly,
feel very similar to Jake.
the friendly was recommend further public input, right? I don't think we have a friendly on where final design should be reviewed. Correct? Cause there's two things that are going on right now. We wanna have a final version, or do we wanna have community input? What is it? If we wanna be part of the community, involvement, we show up to that meeting
Yes.
and we add value. So right now, do we wanna take this opportunity and support this free money, the artist and the vision, whether it's not the final vision? Do we wanna support it? Yes or no? I think it's clear as a whistle. And if we support it, do we recommend it? Cause the city council might say no at the end of the day. They might decide, you know what? Maybe we go talk in front of the city council, and public hearing or whatever it might be and say, we don't support this as an individual. We all have our prerogative to do that, right? But do we want a mural, yes or no? I think that's what we have to just come to terms with at this.
Yeah.
Commission.
Do we vote on the motion that was already put in place with the friendly amendment now, or?
It's
Yeah,
still, like,
we have a motion second on the floor, so the vote is the next
Okay,
course of action.
so are you guys good with what Sam proposed and I seconded?
well, you second, now we have to, the chair has to call for a vote.
Okay, calling for a vote on Commissioner Bozo's recommendation of support at the mural at the handball wall in Las Animas Park. With a further recommendation that we get community input for the final design.
Is that
All in favor?
Okay, so. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the motion passes 5-0.
Did you roll
I didn't vote. but
I
it's
just
okay.
don't think that that it's, maybe we ought to just withdraw the whole thing, start over again.
I wouldn't suggest that, but I would say call for a voice vote. I'm not for a voice vote, for a roll call vote,
Okay,
and then
Okay,
people
sure.
can speak to it, so you can vote your conscience, vote where you wanna deal with it, but again, for the record, state why you're voting this way. Or why your reservation is. I see Commissioner Jimenez particularly struggling with what.
You could also abstain.
If I could also add on to that one, so ultimately, again, you're recommending, council wants to decide whether we have to. So if you don't feel comfortable, it's still gonna, even if the commission said, no, we don't want that handball court on, it's still gonna count for the city. It would just be taking your recommendation that the commission does not think this is a appropriate place for.
Yeah, but if we all vote yes based off particular, exceptions, then the council may vote saying, well, until they come up with something, we're gonna deny it. That, what I'm guessing that may happen, the council, I just.
I mean, what Mr. Atkins is saying is that even if the commission doesn't support it, ultimately the council will, could say, you know what, we're gonna support it, here you go. Or if you support it, they may say, no, we don't support it, and then it doesn't. move forward.
And they could also, if you say, no, we don't wanna do it, also say, okay, well, Parks and Recreation Commission says no, we're gonna side with them. And do it. It's also, so basically what I think we're trying to say is if your conscience says you don't support it, then don't support, don't vote for it. There's not you're not gonna kill the project in a single vote. Right, it's gonna be recommendations, gonna compile with the Arts and Culture Commission's recommendation. And it'll be brought together as a conglomerate. Your comments will be shared, obviously the artist is here, we can go back and you can kind of coordinate with funders to see what they wanna do, how it's kind of going from there, so. You know. It's really up to the commission what it wants to recommend. You could vote for condition, but. Again, at that point, it's commission versus commission or territory.
Mhm.
And so. You know, that in that case, the chart is very clear, the design is the Arts and Culture Commission. I just need to reiterate the one, again, whatever you recommend is what the commission recommends. But
I'm sorry, what is the process you said that we could do? We could vote.
you could, I mean, the commission could vote and say, we're gonna condition approval on having a meeting.
Oh, it's so it's
But
separate than the
again,
friendly.
again, it's the commission stepping outside of its line of authority, and I have to report that to council. Arts Culture Commission approved it. Parks Rec is not approving it based on design, which is not within the scope of the charter.
Okay,
It would basically nullify your vote
Pretty much.
because you've
Yeah.
overstepped
It's like, we wanna
your boundaries.
have a
but you really
design
want your
input.
voice to be heard.
And so that's what we're
Then
trying.
vote your conscience and deal with it, you know, it's okay if it doesn't pass, it's okay if it's a 3-2, 4-1, whatever that vote is. As long as you, frankly, as long as you voted your conscience and you clearly state on the record that, you know, support for the idea of having a mural on there. I don't think there's anybody that could read the record, read the minutes and say otherwise with that. My takeaway on this is purely the concern is that, that we'd like to have more public input. And there's thoughts on whether, you know, whether some like the panels themselves and everything like that too. That's, which is not necessarily within the realm of this commission's role, but certainly would be in the community input. You've said, we believe there should be a community input process. That's what Sam's motion was and seconded by Emily. So that's where you go with that. Pretty straightforward on that, I understand. I think we all understand that it's an odd place. I knew tonight would be a challenge with it. Because when you're posed with a mural, everybody has a visceral, hard input into what that mural says and you want to speak to it, whether it speaks to you or not. And, art is art and that's a difficult issue. And it's hard to separate those things as the commission saying, hey, is it okay to put a mural on the handball courts? But I'm not sold on this one exactly with it. And that's me just saying that's one perspective on it that one could have with it, so. No problem.
I have one last question for Adam. What people in the community have you discussed the artwork with? And is there other organizations you have discussed it with?
Sorry.
It helps to kind of. And allay the concerns here, so ours is willing to commit that community will be held before the end of June. So if that allays the fears and concerns about being public input. Then you have a commitment from ours to get that input that's part of the project here.
And I have a question to that. So what if, I'm just saying, right, what if community in the most extreme situation doesn't like it? At that point, what does that kind of look like? Does that go back to the Arts and Recreation Commission? What does that typically look like,
It would
in
depend.
case they don't?
It would depend, so the artist is, again, this is donated art, so that's where the kind of, the caveat is, right, we're not commissioning it. So what would end up happening in that case is the artist would take the community input, he could make change to design, he could say, absolutely not, the design stays the same. And again, it's up to that input that they give at the community.
Okay.
What then would happen is that if there are resulting changes in design, hitting on this fair, I mean, if they're saying, oh, well, you know, we don't like the color of the, you know, shirts or whatever in the past scene. You know, minor changes like that is okay, if it's thematic change, something kind of larger, that would have to possibly go back to the Arts and Culture Commission for basically just get reconfirmation, is the change with the changes, does your recommendation hold? Again, that can be done through special meeting, we can make that work. But ultimately, again, what goes to the council has to be the final design, right? What council approves, it's done. So the community regardless has to happen before the council can do it, because what they approve, that's it. So it's,
At the end of the day, we're just deciding whether we support a mural there or not. We're in the Arts Commission specifically, right? So if we really want to voice our concern with this project, this is not technically the commission to deal with it. Do we want a mural there, yes or not? Whether we want our own design input, then we already have acknowledgement from the artist that he is going to. And from the get-go, he was like, yes, I want input from the community, but this is a private idea, private funding, and there's nothing negative about the mural. So I'm not sure what the word is, but you know, I wanna call this conversation or this topic or this agenda item to order, to where if we need to vote on it, and whether we abstain or not and be on record because you feel strongly about it, I completely support you because you are individuals that have been in this community for a long time. And at the same time, I personally feel as a new member of the community, we need to be open to different ideas. Because times are changing and we want to be inclusive into everybody, including an artist that's coming into the field or already has been in the field in the community. And his murals might be a variation of the same idea, but specifically to this, we don't know. Maybe we could research it, but this is not the time or place to figure that design. This is not the time or place to figure out what's best for that wall. So what is the right wording for the Robert Roots Award to say, can I call the vote for a individual vote so we could have it on record if that's what you want, or do we move forward?
Can we do it next month? Can we vote next month, do a public?
I think we're on a timeline, is from what I understood.
I mean, they said that they
If I
could
could
meet
just
by the end of June.
Ask
right?
Mr. Castaneda, can I just ask you one question? And this will really make a decision in my answer. If I just hear a little bit from you. In the past, you've been doing this for a while. And I did start by thanking you. So thank you so much for taking this project and wanting to take it on. Have you taken in the past where you had kind of open listening sessions, outreach sessions before, and community comes to you and kind of voices their input, right? Have you in the past taken that into consideration into your artwork? And then my second part to that question is, do you think that just one outreach session will be enough? What is your experience how's it look like before?
So for this one, for sure, at least one, I had to do more in the past, but it's not with the whole community. So I did the horizontal budget, in the quad area, right? So we did that community input session. It was with the school, the students and the parents, right? But then our follow-up input with, like the family of the Sentinel Horizontal. So that was more of like our advisory board. We got community input, we see what they wanted, what they'd like to see, what they don't want to see. We already had a design and then we're kind of giving them like a preview of what it looks like, pretty much what we have here in front. This isn't a final unit, So I set them up like that where they're like 100%. And this means I gotta pull certain things out or add a few things, there's a lot of room for me to do that. So any changes that need to be made, I can do that in like a day or two. So it's not something that's gonna cripple the whole project. That we have to have more than one community input session.
So from what I understanding, from you is you do take the community input into consideration when you do deliver your final design, is that correct?
Especially if I'm gonna be at the call. I don't want to make it feel like we don't care.
Are you, it's Adam, right, Adam?
Oh, my name is Joey.
Huh?
My name is Joey.
So you related to Jimmy?
That's my cousin.
That's your cousin? Okay. So have you had gotten input from Manos, also Caras and different organizations that really do a lot of community outreach in those areas?
Yeah, so we collab all the time, so I run an organization myself, it's called Soto Collective, it's a 12-member review, artist. Basically sponsored. We operate as a union, but it's more of like, just support for other artists. So we're active with all the organizations, most of the nonprofits, so yeah, I've gotten it from it.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to circle it back to George's point, now. I think, I've heard enough. Thank you for that. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable moving forward. Yeah, how do we,
Didn't we already do it, or?
so are
Do
we,
you want to rescind the previous motion?
Do the vote again? Or,
Yeah, we-
Individually, right? Is that what we're gonna do it?
yes, this is a roll call and you can make.
So
comments.
I request a roll, I would request a roll call so we could get straight to it.
Okay, so the commission wants to rescind the previous motion and then we'll start.
You never, I would say this, the clerk never actually affirmed and stated what it was, so. That vote really never really didn't occur. How about that?
Are we good?
And now you do I'm good.
Oh, we're good, okay.
Mr. Al there, or, I would just say do a roll call.
Okay. All right, so we'll start down the line here. So Commissioner Jimenez,
I'm for a mural there at Los Alamos Park. But I would like public input and have some kind of, group gathering with different organizations that really nailing this down so we could get the right piece up there. That's my vote, so yes.
okay, Commissioner Morris.
yes,
Vice Chair Martinez,
yes,
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
and Commissioner Belton.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes to support it 5-0. Any comments on Commissioner Jimenez, who would like public input from different organizations?
could I also add that I would also like community input? Cool.
Thank you for working through that.
Thank you much. Thank you for
Appreciate
waiting
it.
patiently.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Well, get the crud too, or is this, that crud?
All right. Next item on the agenda, new business, 10.2, Las Animas Veterans Park Pickleball Courts Project.
Another one.
Do we want a pickleball, yes or no?
Pickleball statue.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Emily up there.
I'll be leaving at
Just a
7:25.
warm up to this.
Hey, bro.
I'll be leaving at 7:25 and coming back.
My voice is loud enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mike. I'm really cool with that. So it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for endeavoring, through this. So, I think everybody's aware by now that the council approved, budget on June 2nd. That is effective July 1. That budget includes funding for pickleball courts. And, as such, we have started to do some work, even though we're in the wrong fiscal year, but we've still done a little bit of work to start with on this. And we have an RFP that's due next week for topographic survey for a larger area in Los Angeles, so we can start the work toward location and design and things of that nature. But we've done a little bit of work. And the first piece of this was, for us, was to get consensus among the commission as to where this facility goes. I know that the commission did some of this work. I wanted to confirm and affirm that I do know that. We took a look at it. I think we took a look at many of the same general locations that you did. But we wanted to kind of walk through that, give you staff's take on it and get your input back on this. And hopefully tonight, get your consensus on the location that we should kind of continue forward with and start working on design. So we'll go through a little bit of the what we saw, existing conditions, potential location, recommendation, and a little bit on the next steps. So obviously this is the existing site, you know, the tennis courts, the handball courts we just talked about. You're very well familiar with that. I think the key pieces to this for some of this conversation, obviously, is the dog park. I want to say right up front that the dog park, and consensus I've heard from many people is the dog park is not sacrosanct. It can be modified. Every intention to take a look at that and try to deal with it. One of the things that that I have heard clearly from my conversations among many community members and council members alike is that we should look at this in a bigger picture, not just as pickleball, but try to figure out holistically, how do we address some of the things around those areas? How do we improve access that not only accesses the pickleball courts, but accesses the other amenities around there? How do we deal with improving lighting, security? How do we activate certain areas that are either activated in the wrong way in some people's minds or not activated at all? So we're trying to look at this and want to look at this holistically. So first and foremost, I'd say we don't want to look at this just as pickleball courts, but as transformational for at least a portion of Los Animas Park. So that's kind of how we've approached this and begun to approach this, and just want to sort of talk about that philosophically with you. So basically what we've been tasked with, at least 4, and I think no one would argue if we were able to theoretically get a 5th or a 6th court. I would love to look at 2 locations at some point and, you know, and maybe look at a 4 and then have to look at another site maybe down the road at another park to spread that out. But we're certainly not foreclosing on it. We're just looking at where budget and everything else. Budget will in part be driven by the other transformational things we do. So it's not just about pickleball courts themselves, again, about price, but it's about the other things that we can do around there and improve Los Animas in a bigger picture with it. So that's where the concern, and I think we're probably looking at a 4-court facility if we do some of the other things that we expect to do with that. We've looked at what the tennis courts have, just to see where shade structures are an important piece to that. I've talked to the folks there. It gets hot. It's a nice place to get respite from. Obviously, those are some things, some benches. Part of that is to allow people waiting for a court to have a place to sit, have a little shade. Also, we hope that kids, parents and everything will come and for place for multi-generational involvement there and connection in those courts themselves. And I think pickleball itself is a sport that allows that to happen far more than what tennis does. And I think that's why it's such a popular sport these days. It just allows for a different environment than that does. We've heard definitely lighting, again, the heat, nice place, you know, to deal with it. And, you know, obviously during the winter, it gets dark pretty early and that provides that issue. Lighting is a big factor in terms of where you put it. Obviously, community members, neighbors around the area are going to be concerned about lighting, obviously timers and all the things that come along with that. So we just took input. We took input from our parks folks. We visited the site. I've been there multiple times, spoken to, a number of you individually, spoken to other folks and, been out and about with that. Talked to Adam. My position always was from the very get-go, I won't hide it, was location number one. I saw it just as the easiest place to be. It was furthest away from most, the neighborhood back behind, kind of, to the south. And, just sort of easy pickings and provided a connection, around near, and maybe some adult, supervision to the skate park, if that's a factor, I don't know. It happens to be in some other areas where it's nice to have some of that. I also have, subsequently have talked to a lot of people who, have informed me that a lot of the soccer kids, play, the little ones play, that's a very active place for soccer. It's baseball play as well, and, so, you know, your first impressions sometimes have to be tempered with understanding what the community and how the community uses the facility and uses the site and deal with it. So I just put that out there, that was a point. I think we got an email today, someone, sent an email and that was shared with the commission.
She sent it to you.
Oh, okay, that was what sent to you, where they were suggesting the location number one, was in there. So, and I know the commission did, some of this, or a lot of this work, the same work, I didn't want to duplicate it, but I thought it was fair. That we sort of take a look at it, and these are in your packet, and these are kind of what we were, trying to look at in terms of the various factors that we were looking at to try to analyze. Obviously, number 4 was a critical piece, I think, when it comes to noise and the lighting. The one thing that if you just do a Google search, you'll find many communities, screaming about the noise, from the pickleball. There are different sound than tennis, there are different sound than basketball, handball, whatever with it, and there are a number of places where they're screaming to have them removed because they got too close to houses. And so we want to basically keep as far away as we can from the existing neighbors, be respectful of their lives and the peace of their community and everything like that. And then I think the proximity to parking, space, all the things that kind of come around with that. So, I won't go into great detail. You've seen this. Location 1 was, from just the general location and issues with, proximity to sensitive uses and those things was a really high score. But again, when we looked at it from the context of sort of, other impacts and other locations, it scored where it scored, and it was, kind of a place, but not necessarily, I'd say where I would recommend at this point that you go. I've heard way too much implications and concerns about the loss of this, very, visible, open, green area for a lot of activities. We looked at also, a location in, the area, which is basically right behind what do you call it? The pavilion. I've heard it called the pavilion. The pavilion. I think this is a site that the commission had talked about. I did have a chance to talk to the chair, before he left for overseas. And my understanding was there was interest in trying to activate that concrete, sort of the circle concrete area back behind that pavilion. And I think this sort of reflects that issue. There is a kind of a limited size in there and a concerns for us with that, and also taking out all of that concrete and having to dispose of that adds a significant cost to the effort. I don't know what we find underneath it, and so there was some concerns on staff's part in terms of whether that is the best solution. We also then looked at location 3, which was near what you're talking about, and And again, as I said, we understood that this could come forward, closer to the parking lot, it could shift a little bit, it could shift over toward the dog park. I think, again, we have no worries and concerns about maybe reducing the large dog area there. It's excessive. I think it could be, improved by, sometimes less is more, or addition by subtraction. And I think this is one of those situations where we would better maintain the area, make it more attractive. I think we can pull it back away, and I think we can work together with that if this site is acceptable, to the commission. This was our highest scoring point, just in terms of proximity, access, and, kind of everything kind of fit, in our minds with this issue. And part of what I like about this is it not only allows us to, I think, re-envision, and revise the dog park, particularly the large, dog area, but also to activate that area that was concerned to the commission, which is that concrete circular area back there. There are picnic tables that will need to be relocated. We could create sort of a more of a picnic pavilion. We could look at various things back there. I think we can get lighting in. We can talk about how we deal with that. I know the last conversation we had last meeting was around security concerns and lighting around there. I apologize if I did not sound, concerned enough about that. I do get it. And this is one of the ways that we think that could be achieved and still keep what is potentially an asset, but seems at this point, the way it's being utilized is not an asset necessarily, but let's try to see if we can turn it into that. And then finally, we kind of looked at this area, which I don't think anybody thought was a great location, but it is at least open space and not very active on the other side of the ditch. But that is, in my mind, way too close to the houses, way too far away from everything. But it certainly would activate a spot that isn't activated too much today, but I don't think anybody would be very happy, with that, including the walk from the parking lot along. And then fighting with the neighbors, with the lights, with sound and all those things with that. So that was sort of our assessment. Again, you're under no obligation to agree, with these, other than just to say, hey, we took a whack at it, to give you some thoughts and ideas on it. It's the place to go, and I know that we did, this work as well. So again, our recommended location is somewhere in this vicinity. Our look at this was that it's just sort of a little bit of a lost area. It's very close to the parking lot. The pavilion is sort of this lost area a bit as well. It needs some love and care, I think, from the city. I think I've yet to find anyone thinking that has indicated they thought the large dog area was very usable, very friendly, and I think most people go to the other dog parks, frankly, than they go to this one for whatever reason, other than the fact that it's more kind of expansive, but it's kind of weedy and gravelly and not very inviting from just a quick look and walk through it, a few weeks ago. On it. And then, basically what we're hoping again, tonight is to finalize with this commission, your thoughts and everything on this, location. We can complete the topographic survey work, which will get us way down the road. And then we can begin, the plan and production process, for that. I think your packet includes, kind of the next level, which is just a very early, vision of what this could look like. And again, this kind of was done to look at what the rectangle needed to be, the size of the rectangle for a reasonable, design. So that's when you saw with each one of those sites, this is how we got to this point, was to do at least some general, work on this. This is, we've seen this design in a few locations around. This really provides individual courts. I think it's a great design with it. You're not, having the ball escaping into the other courts. You really have a nice standalone court with fencing, and you have the lower fencing between the courts. And you've got shade structures, you've got some landscaping, those would be lighted. And you've got sort of a contained area where if you brought little ones around, they could kind of hang out there and run around a little bit without, necessarily getting all out. But this again is extremely preliminary, but it was really done as a study to see what size of the rectangle needed to be. And this is basically what we've seen. This could also be turned, we did it with 4 courts sort of going the other way. It could fit in the same rectangle, so we've got some work to do, and we'll certainly be getting input from you and the community on that a bit as we go along. So that's my spiel. Yes, to the chair.
I'm not the chair, he's the chair.
No, through the chair.
Through the chair,
Through the vice chair.
through the vice chair.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, you're chair tonight.
I'm excited about this, actually. I thought location 1 would be ideal, but upon hearing your recommendation, I think this is a great area to kind of activate. I can't wait for you guys to kind of share your thoughts on it as well, based on your experience and history here in Gilroy at that specific park. I personally would like to see this be bigger, 6, not just 4. I don't know, I don't know what's wrong with that park. I mean, not park, the dog park, but it's not utilized to its full potential. So let's utilize it, that area in general, for its full potential. 6 courts would really attract a lot of people into one central area. So with that said, I will give my time back to the chair, vice chair, acting chair, and I will be leaving monitor in a moment and then coming back, because I really am thrilled about this.
Anybody else have any thoughts? I mean, I guess I could start and then I can open it up to folks. This is cool, you know what I mean? The light at the end of the tunnel. I think this location is great. The only thing is, like, I hate seeing grass, getting rid of grass, right? So ideally, and I know this might be going a little bit off tangent here. I would want to use up some of the space of the dog park and save a little bit more of the grass area, because I agree with George. The two times a week that I go to the park, I don't really see being activated. And then it's unfortunate because Los Animas is a beautiful park, right? But it just, that area is just, I don't know. I don't know if it needs grass, or I don't know what it is. I think that's a discussion for a different day, but I see that dog park as a wide open space. So I can definitely see the expansion of that, the pickleball courts.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone's saying. Is I think based on the research I've done and been asked to do by members of the city council, 4 courts is not enough for the city probably, and if we have the funds, I think we should use it for what it was dedicated for, to do at least 6 courts. And then I do have a few questions. Which direction is this current layout facing? Is it north, south?
North is up on top.
This is
and south
mentality.
is on the bottom.
Parking lot is
No idea.
that way from
mentality.
what you're looking at.
Are these courts positioned north, south?
Yes.
So there's no sun.
We
Either.
tried, this orientation was around the issue of sun.
Yeah.
And making sure that for the least part of that, when you turn them this way,
Yeah.
you have one court or both courts. If you're in the morning, you have the sun rising, and in the afternoon, you've got the sun falling on you. So this was designed around having the sun at your sides as much as possible. So
Yeah.
it did look at, and that's one of the reasons the layout was sort of there with the sun ornamentation.
I know other cities like Fremont who just built new courts, they did not do that, and it's very hard to play there. So I think that's important, and again, I think room for expansion is important. I think 6 is a good starting place, but if we were to expand more than 4, your idea would be to go into the dog park?
Well, I think that this could be shifted even, Sean, when he was looking at this and sort of putting the place in here, was was preserving the dog park as much as possible. Just because he was trying to do that. I did not modify this coming into this point, but my takeaway, again, I've heard from multiple commissioners, multiple community members. If you need to take some dog park, take some dog park and put it in the right spot. So this should up and easterly, and get it closer to, even get it closer to the parking lot and get it closer to the walkway that goes to the dog park there. Still connecting into, the circle area, but not having it back so far and so close to, the ditch back there and where I know flooding, sometimes occurs. With that, I don't know how high it's gotten there, so you guys have better history on that. Our faithful friend here. But we can certainly do that. My concern, is that this is a very amenity laden, design at this point for pickleball. If you go look at what other pickleball courts, for the most part, they're pretty much like the tennis courts, so. We can look at and get closer to perhaps 6 and reduce those amenities, like the shade structures, like some of the, the other, components to that point. I think it's a trade-off, so that's what we have to look at, particularly if we want to try to, make adjacent improvements, including more improvements to the dog park and also trying to, make the circle area and perhaps even the grounds there where the pavilion is and everything, a little nicer and a little better, using kind of these funds and just trying to make that a holistic approach, as I said before. So that's the trade-offs. We're trying to deal with that, and whether that's worth, trading off some of those to get 2 more courts or not. That's policy question I cannot answer. I've been given, from administration, the authority to go somewhere between 4 and 6, courts, depending on, just what we can afford and how we can make it work and deal with that. I know there's some, there are some folks in the community who would say, let's go as Spartan as possible and bring this in as cheaply as possible and deal with it. I don't think that's what the vast majority of the community really want to do and do it. I think they want something that stands out, in a nice way. And certainly complements the work that the tennis club has done in terms of keeping up those courts and working with the city on that. And I think the vision of a larger, kind of issue, with improving Los Alamos in a bigger way.
I love location 3. I think that's the spot to put it. Which is this spot right here, right? Location 3. I think that moving over a little bit, I mean, that dog park is like a desert, right?
Yeah.
And moving it that way, because you have picnic tables right there, right? Is what you'd be replacing, and I just noticed that on the Oaks barbecue pit, it's always getting reserved, and there's really not much getting reserved on the lakeside part of it. And I think putting the pickleball court there would bring more reservations to the lakeside, and it'll also give more usage to that picnic area that no one uses. And even that picnic area, it just seems a little deserty, and I'm not sure it's because the dog park's right there. But then on the southeast part of the park, you also have another playground and a parking lot that's been closed for quite a bit now. I really feel that we need to, revitalize that whole side of Los Alamos Park, the lakeside area. But I know the Oaks barbecue pit, it gets reserved so much. Sometimes I try to reserve it, and 2 months in advance is already booked. So having something like the Oaks on that side, I know that's for another discussion, but I think it would be great. As well as a 6-court pickleball right there on location 3 with some picnic tables. Yeah, I think we'll see the east side of Los Angeles Park be used a lot more versus it's kind of like just homeless or the unhoused are a lot there. Use it probably the most, you know, but that's my, yeah, I think great, I think 6 court would be good. Also I wanna add that we could learn a lot from the Sunset pickleball court. I was out there earlier this week, played some pickleball. And, but I noticed some of the folks sitting not in the center where the benches were, they had their umbrellas. But I noticed some even sitting off the court under the shade, they brought their own chairs. So that's something that we could possibly even revisit too, having more shade. Definitely shade, because it was hot out there. Gary gets hot during the summer too.
Yeah.
It was.
And I think landscaping and, you know, tree placement is gonna be important for this. We talked about that last meeting with, San Isidro. In terms of how do we keep the playground from roasting as well, and, you know, certainly we could spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on covers that will wear out, or we can spend far less money on, correct placement of landscaping and trees, that are far less expensive and will be forever almost, with that deal. So I think we can do that. You know, pickleball is important, you know, tennis, you know, you can't get too close with the trees, but I think that we can, be efficient with it. And pickleball is a different game.
But definitely 6 courts, because they're at Sunset, they have 4,
Yeah.
and I think 3 were being utilized. But I know pickleball courts in Los Angeles are gonna draw a lot more people, so we definitely need 6 courts, that would be.
Certainly take that input. I think, I've heard that clearly. So we'll see what we can do. And as I say, some of that means that probably some of the amenities you'll see it. You know, what we've committed to doing, and I think we've, tried to do that is that we'll look at, coming back with a couple of options. At probably, I'm hoping maybe September or so that we can come back with some more detail. We're also looking at San Ysidro probably coming back, around September as well, for commission. We want to get scheduled in for Cafecito. So there's things we need to figure out with that deal, but, that would be a timeline that we're, looking at. And I would say that we would be coming back at that point, we would have, we'd have the topographic survey and that work. We're also trying to figure out whether there is a possible way to, squeeze some funding out of this money along with some other funding sources to, resurface, repave that parking lot there as well. I know that's something that's been of great interest to a lot of, people. But I also know that the lighting there at that parking lot, leaves, something to be desired, for everyone, whether that just can't. We'll see where we can go with that. This only goes so far, and we're gonna have to make some tough choices at some point here, with it. Wow.
Commissioner Mobley?
As far as pickleball is concerned,
Oh, you're just the only one who hasn't, commented yet.
Do you have any comments that you'd like to share? Any thoughts?
my experience with pickleball is I was at Wheeler Auditorium and, I jammed my leg and the next day it was black and blue. So, I'll support anything that you want about pickleball because it's just not for me, but I did support the people that were here tonight that they said they had between $25,000 and $50,000. I've never heard, have you heard about that? It was a private donation of some kind, but
Yeah.
it never materialized. Anyway, I'll support whatever you want on pickleball, because it's a great sport, there's no question.
I think the location's good. Again, I think it is important that we keep it north-south because of the sun.
Yeah.
And then definitely the number one criteria that I'm interested in is room for expansion, which this location.
Yeah,
scores-
expansion.
Yeah,
capability
scores highly
for
on that.
sure. Yeah.
And then you talked about maybe doing like multiple locations for
Not
pickleball.
with this money.
Yeah, which just in general, I wanna get this out up front. I think it's good if we're like gonna expand to 6 later or something, which I don't recommend. I think we should do it all at once. I think to build a community, it's important to keep the infrastructure together so that people can come and they can have picnics, and just wanna put that out there up front.
I also have some final thoughts. John, I love the holistic approach. I love it. I'm all for it. And I know this is not necessarily what you're asking for, but I think if you're asking for our thoughts and opinions, I would say use some of that dog park area, you know, and I would rather save the grass and use the dog park area. If that's what it came down to. Just because that area is not being utilized, and not only is it not being utilized, it's not appealing to the park.
I do know that I was talking to one of my friends and he goes to Morgan Hill to use their dog parks because
Yeah.
the dog parks here, you know, he's like, I wanna meet people there, like, there's no trees at the ones we have, so. Yeah, just input on dog parks.
It's, that dog park is Spartan.
Yeah,
Your dog's gotta be a tough dog.
the cat.
Wait, does someone want to make a motion?
What was
All I'm asking for, from the commission is, it can be consensus as to, safety and a recommendation. You can actually vote, which is fine, that we focus on site 3 with the and you can include, or I'll just say, with the proviso that we certainly can look at moving it around a little bit within that area, utilize dog park area to better utilize the land.
Yeah.
And what I clearly heard is if there's a way to squeeze six courts, now would be the time to try to do that and deal with that.
And I just wanna say, I don't like the idea of squeeze, because I went and played at South Valley Middle School and those courts are squeezed and it's not usable. Like you can only, there's 6 courts,
We have
I
12.
think. 12, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
use all of them. When you're playing, you have
Oh.
to skip every other court, so,
So let me clarify what, squeeze the budget
okay.
to get there.
Yeah.
It's not the site. We've heard a lot of comments. We've heard comments about the courts that are in that were just completed recently in Morgan Hill,
Yeah.
and they went too small in between the
Exactly.
courts. They didn't put the small fences in there to stop the balls from going between courts. They have the amount of space in the sideline that not good, and so we've heard a lot of that, and everything that we were looking all along was to maximize those areas and make them playable courts. Frankly, to make them courts that could be used for tournament play if you really wanted to, or there was a time to do that deal, they would meet all those specs and allow folks to move around with it.
Also, thank you for doing such thorough research, because you go other places and you see they don't, and it matters, so I appreciate it.
I've been living pickleball for the last 5 years, so it's a pleasure to actually come here and actually get to build some courts, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
thrilled.
know.
This is a lifetime achievement award here for all of us.
Maybe we need a statue of you.
I was about to say.
Right, so.
Do we need a motion?
Motion to pass agenda item 10.2, is that what I said?
Yeah, 10.2 to making the recommendation for site 3. Is that what we're
For location 3.
per location?
I second that.
Emily, motion. Vargas, second. Okay,
I think a voice vote is appropriate on this one.
all those in favor? For time's sake. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Use that dog park,
Yeah, that dog park, man, that's
6 courts.
Can we get a survey going and see how many people actually use the dog park there?
not much.
All right, let's go to.
But, anyways. All right. Yeah. Move it up. All right, agenda, so we're moving on to the old business. So we got fiscal year 26 and 27 Parks and Recreation Commission work plan.
Yes, okay, so, the city council, as mentioned earlier, on June second, adopted their budget, and in that budget included each commission's work plan. Among them, the Parks and Recreation Commission, so your proposed work plan has been accepted and approved for the next 2 years. So we can just go through, what's happening right now. So your work plan, there's a staff report here, it's right after the pickleball report. So this is your work plan here. If you go down to background. Instead of the spreadsheet, because it was always coming out a little funky, I just instead just transferred the information to the actual report itself. So the first one is under engaging the community, participate and sponsor citywide events such as Arbor Day, Bike to Arbor Day, Earth Day, Coffee in the Park, and the citywide cleanup efforts. The commission end up tabling at the June 7th soccer clinic?
No,
No.
I did not. On behalf of Parks and Rec, I did not.
Okay. All right, so we'll, anyway, so if there are upcoming events where the commission wants to table, let me know. I've got it all ready to go, table cover, some giveaway stuff. I just need a few days in advance, to cover for you, okay?
I have questions.
Yes.
I don't know if it may tell me if I need to talk about this later, but I was told that the budget for marketing materials was approved.
It was not,
Oh, no.
no, the only thing that was approved on your budget was the pickleball ones.
Is it possible to get a breakdown of the money that we had?
You mean the money in terms of?
I was told that it wasn't, no.
No, so, the only thing that got approved was the pickleball courts from your list of recommendations.
There was, and we'll have to look at it, there was your chair spoke and I got a sense that there was a willingness to take a look at the idea of the end of year sort of some money rolling back toward recreation, but I'm not sure if that got formalized in the work program. The work program for the council also included the idea of doing the parks master plan, but there was not budget yet allocated to that, so the hope was to come back. So part of what the council said was, let's see what our year-end balance comes back with it once you get to the point of we're at the year end, there's usually some money still left. And they were looking at how to allocate those funds. And so that was something I think they were going to look at. So that clearly, like the Parks Master Plan became a pretty widely supported idea of the need to start to look at that, but it was not funded.
Yeah, and they're gonna come back on that in August, I was told, so everybody watch out for that. But I was told that, cause I submitted a budget request for, I can't remember the price, it was like,
I think it was,
$27,000, yeah?
actually,
I think it was 14.
I thought, yeah, around 15,000, 15,000.
Actually, it was 17,500.
Yeah, and I thought that did get approved, I was
I
told
was-
that,
I was under the impression that it did as well. I
Yeah.
think council member Hilton came specifically to Luis and said, we got that approved. That's a
yeah,
win."
I was told that as well.
No, the only thing, so what got approved was there was training for the commissions. The council allocated $23,500. The pickleball courts, 900,000 for next fiscal year. And the youth commission, for opportunity teen fair, a senior intergenerational dance, and for apparel,
How much was the apparel?
$550.
I wonder where the miscommunication was with that. I'll have to check. What are you looking, is that in the staff report?
Yeah, so this was in the June 2nd staff report for the budget.
Yeah, I'll check.
Just page 8.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Anyways, just to keep going here, so maintain and enhance existing park facilities. Commissioners will provide their report during commissioner comments. So that's doing your due diligence, your park assignments, which we'll get to momentarily. Establish permanent pickleball facilities, which you are doing. And then planning for the future. So, as some of you know, during the June 2nd council meeting, there was a discussion about recreation and the future of it. And so in August, the administration department will come back, which is where recreation is housed. It's not a department, by the way, it is a division. We'll come back and provide kind of an overview of what the plan is in terms of what is it that the council wants recreation to provide, what services? And here's what it's currently doing, here's what it's capable of potentially doing, here's how much it would cost. And so they're gonna go through a whole, probably a year-long assessment. And in August, they're gonna share what that plan is going to potentially look like. So that's the next step for that.
And they're doing all this without funding the master plan.
So this isn't a master plan. This is gonna be a recreation assessment.
Okay.
It's gonna be done internally.
Okay,
The master plan was couched as parks and basically trails, recreational trails master plan.
Hmm.
And leaving the recreation piece to a separate component of sort of the first assessment. And then I think a kind of a community process to identify wants, needs, and opportunities, right?
Yes. Anyway, so that is your work plan. Any questions?
No questions, okay. Any department updates?
Yes, so if you go to the next page. I'll go first for the recreation updates. So 4th of July is coming and although we don't actually set off the fireworks, we do contract the fireworks technician. And the recreation division does this every year. This is over at, of course, Gilroy High School. We work with that company so that they can light up the sky at 9:30 on the 4th of July, along with the other fireworks. So adaptive, we had a dance on June 6th over at the senior center. There were over 60 participants. We had a DJ, the theme was Aloha, and it was a lot of fun. It's not just the participants, it's also members of their family, caretakers, things like that. We also had some high school volunteers who helped out. The next dance will actually not be until I think Halloween. And we do Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day. Aquatics. So as of June 1st, there were 673 participants registered for group swim lessons, 90% of whom are residents. I would suspect that number has probably greatly increased since June 1. And Aquatic Center, as you know, it is open, and actually as of today, it's now open for recreation swim every day, except of course on Mondays when the facility is closed for maintenance. Yeah.
Once you mentioned last night's presentation, if you're not aware.
Oh, yes. So, so last night, so as you know, there's a contractor who operates the aquatic center. Before COVID, it used to be done internally by the recreation department. And then the pandemic hit. There was 2 years where the aquatic center wasn't in operation. And then staff was tasked with bringing it back. But because of the staffing reductions to the recreation division, it was recommended that it was done by a contractor. And so through an RFP process, contractor Swimming Swan, which has been operating it since 2022, has been the operator. They had signed a 3-year agreement with the city. And then this past year, there was another RFP because that one had expired for a new round of an outside operator to run the swimming pool. There were two submissions, one of which was Swimming Swan. They were awarded the agreement. However, it was originally going to be 3 years, but city council elected to go with 1 year, wanting to find out whether or not the city should do it internally as it once had. So yesterday, at the council meeting, the former aquatic supervisor, who's now in a different department, she did a presentation on essentially the history of the aquatic center from when it used to be at South Valley Middle School, some of you may remember, and at Gilroy High School. Of course, there is no pool at South Valley anymore, it got filled up. And then why it was moved to Christopher High School, and what are the costs of having it at Christopher High School? Why was it, why was that site selected? The fact that it has water slides, what's the impact of that in terms of financials, as well as maintenance. And then, of course, she went into explaining the background on the recreation department in terms of how much it costs, how much the recreation department was actually taking in, because, people pay for swim lessons, they pay for recreation swim. And then comparing it to how much it's cost the city for they called it a consultant, an aquatics operator to run it. And what the findings were is that it's actually, even despite the fact that the city takes in revenue when they run it, it still costs more than if you contract it out using the current, in terms of the current fees that are being charged. So no decisions were made yesterday. It was really an informational session. In terms of what the next steps are, it's not 100% clear yet whether or not the city council is going to direct staff to have it be done in-house, or if it's going to continue to be done by an outside operator. So,
Sorry, just to confirm, so it
Yes.
costs more money for the third party to put on this program than we're bringing in?
no, it's the
The findings
opposite.
were-
So it costs the city more to do it in-house than for an outside operator.
There was a PowerPoint, and I just suggest sharing it with
Yeah.
with the commission members. It was very informative. I certainly learned a lot. Sitting there watching it last night as well, we share it. I just mention it because I think it's an important component to the programming and, and it's a good conversation piece. And I think it's part of that August conversation as well about recreation programming in general and what's the model we use and, with that. So it kind of fits into your work program piece.
Okay, anyways, I'm gonna go quickly here. Staff is currently working on the fall recreation guide. So that comes out in August, and it will feature Breakfast with Santa, the Youth Basketball League, and something that we haven't done in 2 years, which is a 5K walk run. So it will be done, we're gonna offer it right before Halloween. So it'd be kind of a costume thing.
Cool.
Will there be fees to participate in that?
There will be, I don't know what the fees are as of right now, but we usually try to keep them low, basically to recover the cost for like a t-shirt and a medal. Seniors, so they had an Aloha Day that was celebrated on Friday, June 6th. Oh, no, I have some pictures on the back. Sorry, I didn't mention this earlier. So one of the pictures in the lower left-hand corner is from Aloha Day, among our seniors. We actually had, well over 100 participants come that day. It was a Hawaiian themed, menu, that afternoon. And then, of course, there's also a picture from the adaptive dance. Summer day camp at Gilroy Gardens, as of June 9th, there were 206 campers registered, just to give you an idea. Last year, the entire camp had 175. So we haven't even started camp yet, which begins on Monday. And we've already exceeded that number. And then the top picture is our summer day camp staff. They are our recreation leaders and specialists, and they attended a conference of other Bay Area recreation departments where the focus was summer camp, how to run games, how to talk to parents, how to lead skits, how to lead songs. What's a typical day like? Some of them have a lot of experience, some of them have very little experience, but it was also great too for just the bonding, you know. They rode up in a recreation van together, they had lunch together, so it's a good way to do this kind of, for them to get to know each other. And that concludes my remarks. I'll hand it off to my partner, Don.
Was part with one.
Susan.
The park staff report, Power Park maintenance, staff really focused on the Third Street Dog Park, doing, renovations to the turf, we replaced 4 of the dead trees and replanted them. Staff, aerated, leveled off all the, potholes in the park and, reseeded. We do have the park closed. We're hoping to have it back open on July 3rd. But depending on how well the turf takes, it may push it a week or 2 longer. So it's coming along nice and looks really good.
What park is this, John?
Third Street Dog Park, it's held at on the Third Street at the end, next to it's Heifer Pass Park.
Did you end up taking the 3 trees from the pocket park and putting them in the dog park? Is that where the trees came from?
Correct.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah, so they're doing well, so, and,
Which I have to. We were talking about the dog park at Los Animas. This is, the other side of this issue is trying to use turf for a dog park is a very difficult challenge too. There is, the answer is, there is no easy answer. To this, because you can see what happens as well, with it, so I don't. It's a challenge, yeah, it's a challenge, dog parks are a challenge.
we also removed the tent lighting at, Gourmet Alley. They did have some, LED lights that were there before PG&E had hooked up. We're looking at locations, Los Animas to kind of install some of those tent lights, some of the spots where it's on the dark. Until we get a permanent solution, so, staff's trying to do that soon. We did have a couple of irrigation controllers fail on us. You might have noticed, Forest Park and Sunrise Park a little dry lately, but, we finally got those back online. Tree trimming and removals. Forest Park, well, streets department and forestry were nice enough to share some of the budget that they had here at the end of the year. And we were able to clean up some of the crowns and along Forest Park for the heavily ground trees. We also have a down tree at San Isidro that scheduled for this week for removal, so it's been down for a couple of weeks, but it's quite large, so nice to get that help from the guys over there. Service requests, kind of the same, likely suspects. The graffiti abatement, illegal dumping, got a pretty huge one in the back of, Christmas Hill that we removed a couple of dump trucks full. We got a little bit left, but we're working on it. Again, some tree failures. Yeah, weed abatement, we've got a little bit left. And, fence repair, Goose Creek and, now I'm drawing blank, overflow parking, yeah. Some upcoming projects, tree planting at, pop-up park. We get scheduled the, underground survey, so it should be good to go, Monday. So we're planning to, plant those trees next week. The 2 larger trees and the 3 that are still existing. So those should be, we'll hopefully get those done next week, barring any juggling priorities that might pop up, but that should be done. As you guys, is tuned into the council meeting, but the street structure was approved for Thicker Pass play area last night. Playground retrofits from Delray Park have been, they're going through the process of approvals at the moment. And then, we're moving forward to the Oaks restroom replacement. And still working on some restroom renovation quotes for the rest of the parks in the system that are going to stay, the restrooms that are gonna stay in place and not safe.
As far as bathrooms at Las Animas, the ones that by the current pavilion, or whatever it's called, like the concrete area, those aren't in work, right? Those don't work.
Those are part of the renovations, the interior renovations. We want to get them just cleaned up and more graffiti proof and just more, they're just not designed for heavy abuse that they get from public space. So that's one of those. And then we're also looking at San Isidro restrooms as well. Because those are definitely in need of some TLC as well.
So this bullet point is referencing those restrooms at Las Animas.
Yeah, those renovations.
Are they even in use?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never been brave enough to go in there. I'm scared.
Just close your eyes.
The wing is actually pretty nice.
Really?
It's so rough, but they've been there for, I think that park was called the seventies. So they've been there since the seventies. We're actually looking at new wall coverings, new partitions, changing the amenities, new hand dryers, recoated paint, seal the floor, putting epoxy coatings on all those. Cedro is one of those that has poor ventilation, we're adding ventilation, floor cover, epoxy floors, new panels. Really trying to, freshen them up. Welcoming.
Yeah, easier to clean.
Yeah, and easy to clean and, remove make the graffiti off, easier.
The playground retrofit at Delray, can you expand upon that? Is it just gonna be the equipment or is it also like the turf?
But
That's like-
at the moment, for Delray, it's actually the 2 to 5 year olds, the one that's in the, near the main part, farthest away from the play, from the, Luigi. And, doing the retrofit, we're gonna keep the main posts that are, there and basically change out all of the panels, the decks, the slides.
So sorry, that's the one that had the flooding, that area?
No, I'm not sure. Did the sand area flood?
Yeah. Is that the area you're talking about, Workplace?
The one you're speaking of, so closer to Luigi.
I don't know.
Yeah, this one is you could tell the one closer to the school is, is a lot newer than the one.
Okay, so it's the furthest one.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. It has like the little fence area.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's the only part that's getting retrofitted, not the whole farm?
That part of it, yes.
with what we have, that retrofits of around 87,000, just that.
Wow.
They're not cheap.
Yeah, just to comment that, I mean, you know, that part is rough. I was just there today and like, there's a bench that's all graffitied and like missing a panel and the playground equipment itself
Did you see
is,
Click Fix?
I have all the pictures saved. I'm going to. Yeah, and then the turf itself, like, I don't know, the squishy material that's on the playgrounds, that's all like dug up and, yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
Real quick, can I just make a quick recommendation for the restroom at San Isidro? I'm really glad that's on you guys' list, just because I spend a lot of my time there at that park, and it's been several occasions where community members come into the actual center, they'll knock on the door, they'll see us, and they'll ask if, we have the key to the restroom. So what's happening a lot is unhoused folks are just locking themselves in there at times. And, I don't know if we can maybe take a different approach on that and make it more kind of like a restroom at Las Animas where, you know, it has different sections for you to use within a restroom. Does that make sense? I don't know what's the right terminology for that, but,
I think our intention is to go back to it being not just a single user.
yeah, okay, that's what it is.
Deal with that, and we can work on that, so you cannot just lock that main door and deal with that.
Yeah, okay, great. I'm glad we're on the same
There's ventilation, there's a lot of things wrong with it, but yeah, that's the plan.
What's the timeframe that you guys estimate of working on?
Well,
For fiscal 2026. I was going to give you a time frame.
so we had some money still in our budget, my friend, that we're trying to lock in for, before the end of the year, so we're trying to lock down the money itself, and then basically within, the first, 2 to 3 months of the new fiscal year to actually do the work, that's the hope.
How often do the guys go out there and clean the restrooms at San Ysidro Park? How many times a day?
Daily, and then they'll circle back towards the end of the day and refresh.
So mornings,
Morning,
Generally.
afternoon, yeah.
and then they come back at the end of the day to stock paper, just make sure they're not completely destroyed. And clean up that, but just make sure it's paper stocked during that deal, and that's 7 days. Yeah, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Is that one of your 4 or 5 guys that you have, or is that an outside,
No, it's one
Service?
of our staff. He's
one of your very few?
And then a part-timer that we're hoping, the part-time position will open.
hopefully we get a second part-time range, so we're not covering the weekends. So
Got it. Does that conclude your, report?
that's it, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to our commissioner, park reports and comments. Hopefully we can, touch on those quickly. You know, we're, this is an long meeting, but it's okay. Commissioner Bozo.
Yes, I visited all 3 parks. Said to make it short.
How without anything to report
Yeah,
out?
good. I went to Miller today twice. Because the bathroom door was open and I thought that those were closed and except when you have an event. But then when I went back, there was a city truck there and they were doing whatever they were supposed to be doing. Seemed like it anyway.
So we opened those back up.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Really could not figure out a reason why they were permanently sort of locked and everything, that deal, and, I have some thoughts and ideas on why there maybe was a thought concern about it, but we've opened them, we built, we're in a brand new, restroom, and let's see how the operations work. So we're cleaning them, we're checking them, we're doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Let us know if there's problems.
Yeah. Gateway, I was at Gateway today and, I was just telling John, the flowers there, they had these lilies, beautiful. The Gateway is that one on the corner of Santa Teresa and First Street.
yeah.
Very, it's a small park, but it's very, very nice. And then Miller, I talked about Miller, so. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jimenez.
I visited San Ysidro Forest. I think we already addressed the issues, and some of the concerns, so. Yeah, I'm okay.
Got it. Commissioner Miller?
Sports park looks fabulous, as always. I did notice, is it the parks department's responsibility, those pavilions that are on like the bike paths? Do you guys take care of those? Cause I noticed they were gone. They used to have some, they were all damaged and on the ground, and now they're not there anymore.
Say pavilion?
They're like poles like that stick up.
Oh, the delineators, the knockdowns,
Yes. I don't
the,
know what they're called.
think we have, on the east side of, you're talking about the east side of the park?
Yeah, like when you're walking into the park, like next to the field, there used to be some there, now they're gone. They were broken. I thought it was done on purpose. I don't know where they're at.
We only had one that's knocked down and we've got to replace it. Then there's a couple spots where we have those knockdowns, but then there's, knockdowns farther down the trail or at the spot where they're, in between other knockdowns, so we removed those because it's kind of.
This-
redundant to have.
Yeah, this one has a gate and then it's like, it's in the middle, but it's gone. So just thought I'd note that.
After the gate.
Yeah, it was like in the middle of the gate. It was like the gate and then,
We'll take a
Yeah.
look. We'll-
it's gone, but
Okay.
it looks better because it was broken. So I thought that was on purpose.
Oh, the one on the
Sorry, I'm not
west
good
side
at
before the
directions.
trail.
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah,
trail.
we took those away because if you go up the trail, there's delineators on that side, and then if you go back towards the other part, it's already closed, so in the middle, we just made the turn, so we don't need.
Yeah, it looks better. So I just noted that. The park looks fabulous. Del Rey, again, I'm gonna talk about it every single time, but it looks rough. The equipment, the landscaping, the grass field looks fabulous, and then the concrete, that I keep mentioning, which is, it's previously been flagged, like there's color on it, but it's really worn off, so,
The lift,
yeah, exactly. I'll
we're gonna be working on some of the, concrete shaving, hopefully it'll fit.
this
within
one
that.
doesn't, I.
Too big,
Yeah. I already got it up.
it has more than 2 inches.
But yeah, maybe just remarking that, I don't know if it's a safety issue or not.
Let's figure out what we can maybe put some asphalt on it to smooth it out, make it, yeah, and get it orange.
Yeah, it's pretty worn out. And then Sydney Casper, again, it looks fabulous. There's a bunch of families there having picnics and yeah, you guys do a great job with the care and I did want to just ask, I know that you've said that there's trash collecting stuff that the city already has, and every time I'm out at these parks, there's a bunch of trash and I'm like, oh, I'm out there, I could just pick it up, but I don't have the stuff. Can we like get that stuff?
Yeah, into the senior office, or
Is
the
it-
senior center, at the rec office, we have a few extras.
Okay, can I
That's
just
all we
keep it?
grab.
Yeah, I did like, I don't know what you use, gloves or like, but I'm out there and like, I'm walking around and I'm like, I might as well just be doing this. So,
If
Yeah.
you want some PPE
yeah,
and
Whatever you
a
need.
picker,
We got it.
John will take care of you and anybody else that wants to.
Yeah, I'll
to
just
go
keep-
into the business, we're more than happy to help.
okay, cool.
Part-time position, right?
Yeah, I'll just keep it in my bag
Just keep
and
it in
then
your
when I'm
trunk and you go.
out there, I'll just pick it up, cause it's easy and I'm out there and.
Does that conclude your report? Awesome, thank you. Commissioner Vargas.
Christmas hill looks great. The handicap, sign that was there, that was broken, you guys took care of it after I click, fix, I believe. Did I say it right?
You did?
And question though, what is the handicap sign for? Is that like an area where a table could be set up for a picnic?
No, it was pointing to, the access to the picnic tables there, Mulberry East. But, there's others, so we.
No, like literally inside next to the barbecue pits, there was two poles with a handicap sign, even though there's no access to cars. So,
Maybe, handicap access to that picnic area.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cement, pretty much.
We're supposed to.
Have access,
Make
okay.
available, and I don't know if our picnic tables are really.
ADA.
ADA
Right.
compliant, so that's something we should, we need to look at. Across the board, so that's something that's a pretty significant issue. that we got to deal with.
Awesome. Other than that, nothing else to report, but thank you for taking care of that click fix.
Thanks for putting it in, honestly. We can't be everywhere, although our guy should have rushed, should have seen that. Someone should.
Okay, and then I'll just go, amazing job with the concrete shaving at Rainbow Park. Well done. Los Arroyos looks good. Las Animas, beautiful park. One other thing I do want to add is, if we could possibly, I don't know what this process looks like, but maybe can we possibly pressure wash the steps over at San Isidro Park that are facing the handball courts? I don't know what that process might look like. They definitely need a little bit of maintenance.
What are we talking about,
The steps,
the level?
Yeah.
Where people would sit.
mhm, where people would sit.
Skateboarders,
You know, right where the,
Mhm.
you know where the building is, there's the concrete pad and then there's steps that lead to the court. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a look at that.
Yeah.
You can do.
Maybe just like a pressure washing, that would be great. That and possibly at the handball courts at Las Animas as well. Unfortunately, then house folks do kind of use that area and sometimes they use it for their restroom purposes. Other than that, just a quick little side note, we did get, our commission did get awarded the the SC Heels mini grant. Grant that we applied for $5,000, that we're gonna be using for scholarships. So that is all gonna be, the South County Task Force is gonna kind of help roll that out, for us. So, I have here, some kind of, applications that I kind of put forward for us to kind of look over. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, offline. Because we're a little short on time. But there you go. Long story short, we're just gonna be providing scholarships for our lower income families. With any kind of recreational activities that they would like. Cool. And that kind of wraps up my report there.
Oh, just one thing, so with, Commissioner Graham no longer serving as Commissioner, someone already is, Commissioner Miller taking the sports park, but Rainbow is not.
I'm
Oh,
taking
actually, you're
Rainbow Park.
Rainbow. Okay,
Yeah, so we're good.
Actually, both. Ooh, never mind.
Cool. All right, staff comments?
Yes, I just want to remind you, there's no meeting next month, so the next Parks and Recreation meeting will be Tuesday, August 19th. Also too, at the August meeting, there has been some discussion, as you know, we had the meeting previous month at the senior center. Some of you said you really like the location and, if the commission does want to change locations, it does need to be voted on, with a simple majority, so we'll add that to the next meeting agenda. And then also save the date. This is something that our recreation staff goes to, every other year when it's offered. It's the California Parks and Recreation Society Region 2 Mini Conference, and it's in Morgan Hill. Which is great. It could be anywhere along the peninsula, but fortunately it's here. It's a day-long conference where they talk about parks, recreation, they talk about aquatics, they talk about youth programs, senior programs, everything that has to do with parks and recreation. And it's right here in Morgan Hill, or right up the street. So, if you are interested in going, they just released the registration earlier this week. Let me know, and we'll cover it. It's only, I think it's all about $30 or $40, and it includes lunch too.
Yeah, I'll go. That sounds good. Is it during the week?
It is, it's Thursday, November 6th.
Okay, should I just email you then?
Yeah, if you can email me, that'd be great. I'll just. If anyone else already knows that they can go.
Yeah, come in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's in November 6th, morning, huh?
Yes, yeah, I'll
Okay.
send out the information. I believe it probably starts at 9. We usually get there around 8:45 to check in, and you'll get a little name tag. It's a conference. There'll be, keynote speaker, there'll be over 200 recreation professionals, parks and recreation professionals.
Can you send that calendar invite?
Yeah, I'll include it in a follow-up email.
All right.
All right. Any other last comments? All right, I'd like to close this meeting out at 8:19 PM.
Good vice chair, great vice chair.
Awesome. Yeah, let me know if y'all have any questions about these. I just kind of drafted these up for us to kind of look over.